Again. Hello, my true crime lovelies. How are you? Masses. I hope everyone is well. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. This was filed today at 3:27 p.m. Motion to suppress defend. Oh, wait. Let me make sure I'm sharing it. Oh, my God. I always do that. Goodness gracious. I wish. Oh, shoot. I wish like it intuitively did that, but then it would be doing other crazy stuff, I'm sure. Okay, now back to where I was. Here we go. Share this tab. Let's go back and make sure you can see it. There we go. Okay. Motion to suppress defendant statement at Orange County Sheriff's Office. Comes now the defendant, blah, 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 blah. Respectfully moves the court to suppress all statements made by the defendant during her interrogation. Where are you going, buddy? Oh, you got it caught in there. You need help. You want to go sit over here? You think? Okay. The defendant, Sarah Boone, is charged by way of information with the single count of second-degree murder on or about February 24th. The defendant called 911 in response to finding her boyfriend, George Torres, deceased. And she said on the call, I put him in the suitcase. We were playing like a kind of hide-and-seek thing. Deputy Kayla Rodriguez of the Orange County Sheriff's Office arrived on scene with her body cam activated. Deputy Rodriguez spoke to the defendant and realized a death had occurred. Actually, we all saw the body cam. She knew the person was dead before speaking to the defendant because we remember her walking in and like on the parking lot or whatever, and they were like, he's DOA. And then she said, who called it? As in, who called the time of death? So before she ever met Sarah, she knew that George was dead. But maybe this is legalese. I'm not a lawyer. Sometime later, homicide investigators Chelsea Connolly, a.k.a. Chelsea Copsel. I keep seeing her name spelled all kind of ways. Anyway, and Scott Lowen arrived. These two investigators would ultimately be responsible for this homicide investigation and were involved in the interrogation of the defendant at the OCSO the next day. The defendant was ordered to remain on scene while the OCSO conducted their investigation. Now, I didn't hear her ordered, but maybe that was done off camera. What she was ordered to do was, well, I don't even know if that was an order. She was just told she can't go back in the house. And 99 times after that, she asked to go back in the house. She needed water, her cigarettes are just on the porch. I have a Dr. Pepper on the counter. It's right there. The cups are inside. Like, not understanding at first, I guess it was a crime scene, despite maybe the tape wasn't up. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. Now she knows it's a crime scene. But at that, anyway, so according to her attorney, she was ordered. The defendant stayed outside of her apartment for approximately 14 hours during this time. I do not recall them saying you have to stay out. I remember the Kayla Rodriguez woman asking her to sit down because she was worried she was going to pass out. But I don't remember her saying, like, you can't call someone to come and get you. You know what I mean? Or you can't leave with Brian, when he goes to get your son or whatever. At some point, the defendant was asked to get into a vehicle with Detective Copsel and Detective Lowen. Once inside, Detective Copsel recorded an interrogation with the defendant after partially reading her Miranda rights, omitting the final question, which I believe is, having been read your rights, do you still wish to speak to me, or something to that effect. The defendant was advised this recorded interrogation was routine protocol and official procedure for any death investigation. Okay. I mean, I think not even for death investigations, like any sort of criminal activity, they're recording you, right? Whether it's a home robbery or a battery. I mean, as we've seen, Anyway, during the investigation, Detective Copsell asked to see the defendant's phone. The defendant complied and gave her phone to the detective. The defendant was asked to unlock her phone, and she complied with the demands of the lead investigator. After Detective Copsell had the defendant's phone for a period of time, she came back and told the defendant that she, was taking the phone. Detective Copsell asked the defendant to sign a form releasing it to the... Okay, so this is where I want to go, to the written discovery, because that is not how it was documented. Let me just look at this other page really fast. Which these are, it's a summary what I'm looking at from the detective Chelsea, so it could be wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like, we'd have to go by camera. She could have misremembered it and logged it a different way. I'm not showing you guys this yet because I'm scrolling, trying to look for this. So let's look at this part. This is where it says, on February 24th, Sarah gave verbal and written consent by signing a waiver and affidavit form for the Orange County Sheriff's Office to search her phone. Digital forensic investigator Junella Udon responded to the scene and began to download the cell phone. While the cell phone was being downloaded, 2 videos were found on the cell phone. The first video began recording on February 23rd, 2020 at 23:12, so 12 minutes after 11 p.m. The video was directed at the blue suitcase located in the living room that was flipped upside down. George repeatedly... Okay, I can't go through that. In this video, the suitcase was upside down and you could see George pushing up on the suitcase in an attempt to get out. The video is 2 minutes and 3 seconds long. The second video began recording on February 23rd, 2020 at 23:23, so 11:23. So that is not exactly 11 minutes, because if it started at 2:12 and it was 2 minutes long, it would have ended at 2:14, right? Anyway, okay. Math is not good when you're tired. The second video was 22 seconds long. Due to the nature of the videos, we believed the investigation changed to a criminal investigation. Therefore, all searching of Sarah's cell phone ceased. I authored a digital device search warrant. So the iPhone and the Samsung cell phone were found in the suitcase at the residence, and the Lenovo laptop. On February 25th, 2020 at 15:09, so the next day, the digital device search e-warrant was signed by Judge John Kest. A copy of the signed warrant was given to digital forensic investigator Udon. Okay. So this is the... Oh no, this is the interrogation. Where is the audio? Yeah, I'm scrolling on you guys. Sorry. Close your eyes for a second. On February 24, 2020 at 16:57, so 4:57, Detective Scott Lowen and I conducted an audio recorded interview with Sarah Boone located in my unmarked agency vehicle outside of her residence. I read verbatim to Sarah her constitutional Miranda warning. Sarah agreed she understood what I had just read to her. So I feel like once you say you understand, there is no need to say again, do you wish to speak to me? Because the first thing is you have a right to remain silent. And then you later say you understood you have the right to remain silent and that anything you say can and will be used against you. So I feel like that's black and white. I mean, you guys tell me, like, right? If you understand that you have the right to remain silent, I don't need to ask you if you still wish to speak to me. Like, I would just ask you a question, and if you don't wish to speak to me, you would say, hey, Tanika, don't wish to speak to you. I'm going to invoke my those rights you just read me. Okay, so let me get back to what the heck Owens had to say then. I just don't like, I mean, lawyers are very good with language. They understand the power of language. And I guess, you know, he's doing his job, but it just feels slimy. Okay. So this whole, the defendant acquiesced to authority and signed the form. Who did you got that from, Sarah? I'm not even going to play with you. Oh, and the defendant was told that one of the detectives would return her phone to the defendant at her home in Winter Park the following afternoon. Who believes that? Who believes that? Put a 5 in the chat if you believe that. Because once it turned into a homicide investigation, girl, you were never seeing that phone again. Do you know what I mean? Like, and why would they be dropping it off to you? It just is weird. And we know they had the search warrant pending at that point, so they weren't giving it back to her the next day. They hadn't even gotten the search warrant back. And also, let's just say they did say it for poops and giggles. They can lie to you. Police, everybody knows that in the US. They can lie. I think like in some countries they're not allowed to, but here they can. If it's right or wrong, that's a debate for a different time. So later that evening, the defendant moved to her ex-husband's home for the night. She didn't just go over there. She moved. Using her ex-husband's phone, the defendant called lead detective Chelsea to express her concern that Detective Copsall was not being truthful about law enforcement motives as it relates to the defendant. The defendant told the detective she believes they were trying to trick her. So, I wasn't showing it. Oh my God. Oh, the browser lost connection. Okay, hold on, guys. Shoot. Okay. That she believed they were trying to trick her. So if you believe they're trying to trick you, why not stop talking to them? At some point, I know they did have a conversation because later in the interrogation, she asked several questions and Detective Copsall was saying, just like we said, we weren't going to do blah, blah, blah. Specifically, they talked about her possibly being arrested and not doing it in front of her son. And Chelsea slipped, and I don't think... What's the matter? You want that? I don't think... Sarah caught it because Chelsea said that's why we had you come down here, meaning you're here and not where your son is, so you don't get arrested in front of your son. Do you guys remember when I just remember that distinctly. Like, that should have been Sarah's clue. Like, she was... Long story long, because you know how I do. I just am like, this sounds very iffy in the retelling of it. Because they never came out directly and answered her questions in the interrogation. So what happens next? Like, would you guys tell me if, you know, you oughta or I oughta, or you might want to think about? And they were like, what? So always the victim. Like, oh my God. Getting on the stand and saying they never, yeah. I checked the law today. She didn't have to say that last line because it's all perfectly clear. That's what I'm saying, LW. And thank you I love the receipts. If you understood, you don't need that last line. If you understood, then you understood you could stop or not even start. She was chomping at the bit to talk to them. Just like Owens, she likes to talk. She likes the sound of her voice. Okay, the detectives assured the defendant that they were not trying to trick or implicate her, but that the following day, the defendant needed to drive to the Orange County Sheriff's Office to retrieve her phone. The detective explained, okay, I don't even think Chelsea would say something like, but whatever, even if she did, you just come. It just drives me crazy. I know this part doesn't matter, but it just drives me crazy. So she allegedly arrived to retrieve her phone and had questions about this tragic event. She had a list of questions. if we only knew, like that was a precursor to what the real Sarah was about to unleash, right? Because girl, you're asking about the wedding ring or the engagement ring. A custodial interrogation ensued. It did not, because they did not she wasn't under arrest at that point, and she still had the right to remain silent, right? Immediately after the interrogation, the defendant was arrested and charged with the offense above. The approximate 2-hour interrogation was recorded. The initial dialogue between Copsell and defendant Boone. Detective, I'm going to have you sit in the green chair. Appreciate you coming in. Sarah, yes, ma'am. And I want to ask these whenever you have a moment, referring to her written notes with questions. Detective, sure. So obviously we received his autopsy. So I'm going to read your rights again because we have to talk about that. And we're not done talking about the incident. We just have to do it. And then Sarah, just like we did yesterday, normal protocol. And again, I think Owens was rehearsing this when we were in court because he was so emphatic. And I'm like, that was definitely not Chelsea. Chelsea was asking, like, can you pass me the mayonnaise? The way that she spoke to Sarah. She wasn't like, we have to talk about it. Did you throw it off the bed? You want to get down and go get it? Yes, that wasn't I'm going to agree with you. Mm-hmm. So Sarah said normal protocol. Chelsea said, just like we did yesterday, remember I read you your right. So she had already done it once. This was to do it again because they're talking on a new day and you don't want to run into the problem that we're having. Well, that Owens has cooked up now. It's the exact same thing, but since I'm asking you follow-up questions, I need to read them to you, okay? So you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say may be used against you in court. You have a right to talk to a lawyer before and during questioning without charge. If you cannot afford a lawyer and want one can be provided for you before questioning without charge. Has anyone threatened you or promised you anything to get you to talk to me? No. And do you understand what I just read? Yes. Perfect. Okay. So this morning we went to the autopsy. And then they go into the back scratching. At the end, while still in the interrogation room, the defendant was placed in handcuffs and arrested. Okay. The detective read the defendant her Miranda rights directly from the printed card of the OCSO. The defendant or the detective omitted the final question printed on the standardized Miranda card. Oh, yeah. Can you come over here? Can I have a hug? Can I have a hug? Yes. The omitted final Miranda right question is, having these rights in mind, do you wish to talk to us now? The defense has yet to receive a true... Oh, you want this one? Okay. Can you go and find whatever you dropped off the side of the bed? So this is BS too. I was thinking about this today, right? The defense has yet to receive a true and accurate copy of the Miranda rights card. Okay. And he went on and on about it. He could have done a subpoena ducas tecum, right? He doesn't have to go through the regular line like you and I out asking for a public records request, because if I get it or I don't get it, it's inconsequential. But if he doesn't get it, somebody's life is on the line, right? And so why didn't he just he's going to depose them again. Sarah just deposed them like right before he came on the case. So when you do the deposition, you can say, and you could also send a subpoena ducas tecum and then tell them, bring all the stuff with you, right? So this whole like blame game, the state wouldn't help me. They could have just made a phone call. Okay, we may have to go soon. Okay. All right. Hang on, guys. Let me see. I don't know if Sarah is putting him up to this or if this is the thing he decided he was going to have to do, but it really just, it chaps my hide because I feel like you're playing games. And I get it that defense attorney, I get it. I get all that stuff, but it's just like very frustrating. You come in with the 11th hour with this cockamamie battered spouse story, and then in order to get your story to make sense, you have to get rid of all this evidence. But guess what? She said it on the 911 call. We were playing and it was an accident. She said it on the body cam footage. Like, is he gonna, if this is successful, he's gonna try to get everything else suppressed? Like, how does that make sense? How in the world does that make sense? Sarah interrupted saying protocol. He implied the police said it was just protocol, as though that mattered. I mean, it is protocol. If they said it, you know what I mean? Like, Sarah was in there. I mean, once the judge sees it, you'll see. Like, Sarah was in there trying to prove her intelligence with all her words salad. So she's trying to get protocol out. Like, oh, we're on the same wavelength. I know what you're talking about. Not because she was confused. Do you know what I mean? So, because Chelsea just dismissively said, yeah, protocol, and kept talking. It wasn't like she was like, oh my God, Sarah, you're so brilliant. Or she was telling her, just ignore it because it's protocol. I mean, what does that even mean? Oh no, you can't hear me now? Sorry. I accidentally muted myself. Hopefully you can hear me now. I got a lot going on. She sang like a canary. She did. She said, I put him in the suitcase. Yeah, on the call. I put him in the suitcase. We were playing like this kind of hide and seek thing. And then she told Kayla Rodriguez when she got there, I want to make him squirm a little bit. Like, you wanted to make him squirm or you wanted to kill him? Because I'm going to need you to pick a side and look alive, ma'am. Yeah, they're just doing her bidding. I think they want the publicity, but I mean, I don't know. Part of it is, again, I think client management, but at some point you got to wrangle your client in. I just think this is like a step too far. And I think Judge Kranick is not a dumb man. He is going to see through this. They read rights to everybody they talk to. They didn't do it to people who they were going to be implicated. They didn't do it to people who they knew were going to be implicated. The neighbors, they got a sworn statement. He's saying it's the age, something sneaky. Okay, you can hear me now. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Remember that commercial? 13 days. Fat finger child. Oh, yeah. 13 days. Pitch and catchatory for the trial. There, I will be not during the hearing because I have to work. So I'll do the evening hearing, but I'm sure I'll be in somebody's chat listening. And so, yeah, technically they didn't even have to read her rights. It was an interview. Right. And she had a list. So in order for her to even read, oh my God, I think Sugar Bear's trying to mute you guys with his foot. In order for them to even listen to her list, they had to Mirandize her. So she would, when she came in with this, you know what I mean? Like, the judge is going to see through that. She had the expectation of telling them things, if no other things than what was on her list, because she had to explain about the ring, and she had to explain about, or she wanted to ask when she was getting her phone. So that's the other thing. If you're coming to get your phone, why are you coming with a list that the first question is, when are you getting your phone? Do you know? Like, they could even play it off if it was at the end and, you know, she was like, oh yeah, I thought I was getting my phone. And then in the note, he says it was laid out on a table. Like, why would they just be leaving evidence out for people to randomly touch? Somebody could accidentally pour coffee on it. Like, it just defies logic. I'm glad we have a smart judge. Not that all judges, I mean, I'm sure they have, you know, everybody has a different level of intelligence, irrespective of your profession. But I think he's going to see through the bullshit. Right, Judge Koenig? Are you enjoying your soda back there, sir? I just am like, I'm ready to get the trial going because I just feel like the Torres family needs justice, and all the attention is on like the shenanigans, mainly because it's like balls of a burglar, not even because it's fascinating other than the human behavior. But she hasn't shown any remorse. She has no sort of contrition whatsoever. All of that stuff is going to be reviewed by the judge, like the IMS reports. all her bad behavior, her own, and what has she done for society? Like, who cares if she goes away? And the fact that she's not sorry means she could do it again to someone. Do you know? Like accidentally. So why should she walk among us? I don't get it. She didn't have a job for 2 years. She claimed she was voting, but you weren't paying taxes, ma'am. And she has that thing where she's going on and on about her voting. I hope she's convicted before the election so she can't vote this year, because I'm worried about who she's voting for. They told me to come get my phone, Sarah, when she gets there. Question number 1. Right. Am I getting my phone back? It would be different if it was like the last on the list, because she had some other things and then she was like, oh yeah, I thought I was coming to get my phone. Is my phone, am I still getting it? You know what I mean? Like, Sarah, make it make sense. I wonder if, well, so the judge had said before he can't view the evidence. Will the judge look at it in order to make the decision, or do you think they just go on the arguments? This is what I need to know. Who knows? Because I'm like, this seems foolish. Okay, we're gonna do this, and then I'm gonna take my little man to sleep. So, order on states. Oh wait, let me make sure I'm sharing it. Good Lord. This thing should say, like, you're not sharing if you think you're sharing. Order on state's motion for court-appointed experts to produce reports. This cause having come on to be heard before me in chambers on September 24th upon the state's motion. And I didn't even see this was on the docket for today. Or does chambers mean like they're in his literal chamber in the back and it's not for public consumption? Which I don't think you can do that, right? It all has to be public. Anyway, motion for court-appointed experts to produce reports filed September 20th, 2020, and the court having reviewed the motion and court file and being otherwise duly advised in the premises hereby orders and adjudges as follows. The motion is hereby denied. And that was today, which their motion was asking for the reports to be turned in by Thursday, which that, retrospectively, what's his name, Brandon, we don't even know if he's even seen Sarah yet, right? He just got appointed or authorized last Thursday, and he's the one from that other trial, the Marsha Thompson trial, that's supposed to explain like how her thinking is altered from being battered, maybe being her head being battered from being dropped on it as a child, but not from anything with the George relationship. So we'll see. I am now feeling, I don't want to say better, but I just feel more comfortable that it's probably not going to get in front of the jury, the battered spouse thing. It doesn't seem like it has legs. Of course, procedurally it could be allowed in, I guess, depending on what Brandon says and depending on what Harper says. But I think even if it gets in front of the jury, it's flimsy. Part of me feels like Owens, being a good old Southern boy, is going to portray George as the angry, jealous Hispanic man. So even if the documents don't support it, he's going to paint that picture. I mean, look, his first television appearance, the Torres brothers are, blah, blah, blah. Like, what does that have to do with anything? You know what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see. I know people are or at least in the public comments, like, oh, don't play the race card. Like, I'm sorry, that's just a factor in our judicial system. If you've been in America more than 2 minutes, you know that. Okay. Good Lord. Dry drunk. Right. They shouldn't be this over and stupid. Well, I think maybe they can come back with it. I just think having it by Thursday wasn't practical. He hasn't even met with her yet. Do you know what I mean? And then we all know the state is going to have a fun time ripping apart Michael Birkeland, who's the other expert. Whatever his report is, you can attack his credibility and then leave it to the jury to decide, right? He was storing body parts in a storage at room temperature of people's loved ones, brains of somebody's mother. So I feel like that I'm not worried about him as a death investigator or as a whatever the other part of the ask is. Oh, reconstruction, crime scene reconstruction. So yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting. But yeah, I'll post. Oh my God. I'll post what time we'll do the live. And I think we'll do like a members live too, like right after on Thursday. So we can just chat without other people coming in with out of left field. Or maybe I'll do one live and then we'll do only members only in the chat. You know what I mean? It's open to everyone, but only you guys can comment. Okay. All right, guys, my boss has spoken. It's time to say goodnight. Look, he's waving. He ain't even looking at y'all. He's like, peace out. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for your obsession and passion for the Torres family and getting justice for George and putting Sarah in her forever home once and for all. What? The dog? What are you seeing? All right, I'll talk to you guys later. You say bye?